What a disaster, folks. A lot of folks who had previously invested on the crypto exchange FTX are now looking at potentially complete wipeouts. So investors, and that's not the only, part where crypto investors have faced, blowups. You've seen many different players and crypto assets just absolutely wiped out. And so a lot of folks are wondering, well, what's going on now with FTX? Why is it such a big deal? And also, is there any way to potentially recover my funds, or how do I actually recover from this? Maybe I didn't have all my funds with FTX. What's the strategy from here? What should I do? If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Daniel. You're watching Unrivaled Investing. If you enjoy educational investment videos, please make a point of hitting that subscribe button. The reality is, folks, on this channel, I've gotten a lot of offers to do some sort of, hey, I'm going to talk about this amazing product. Hey, I'm going to talk about this amazing, crypto exchange. And I get those offers on a regular basis, and I have turned pretty much them all down. There's only one that I've called out. There's only one that I've accepted in terms of sponsorship, and that's Interactive Brokers. That's a product that I absolutely use and I trust. And if they were to go broke, then I would lose an absolute ton of money. I don't think they will go broke because it's a solid business model and they're publicly filed and you can see how they make money. You can see the quarterly results. You can click on the link below if you're interested in looking for a business that did well through the great financial crisis, still made money year after year after year, and how they do it. So click on the link below if you're interested. Also, plus they have solid cash balances. So that's the only sort of sponsorship deal I've ever done on this channel, because I looked at all these crypto products that are like, oh yeah, we're offering this 10% yield on this Bitcoin that you own. And it just didn't make sense to me. And then you had the founder of one of these crypto exchanges. You had this guy named Sam Bankman-Fried, or Fried, SBF is what he's known as. And he effectively did an interview a few months ago. And folks, I think it was Matt Levine. He asked him so how does this work? Can you explain this to me? And he said, oh yeah, he explained the dynamics of a Ponzi. And Matt Levine's like, this is pretty much a Ponzi. And he was like, well, pretty much what it is, and it's amazing that investors, it took folks, and I'm really so sorry that so many people had to go through this, particularly because of all the sponsors out there, all the YouTubers, and who you are, that did this, that took the sponsorship money, took that last dollar, whether or not you're that mega, football player, or you're a comedian, or you're these YouTubers. There are some YouTubers that have channels that are many, many times the size of mine, but they took that last dollar, sort of saying, hey, I want that sponsorship money from FTX. And now they're saying, oh, mea culpa, I'm so sorry to have lost your money. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for I'm ever so sorry for recommending crypto. And these folks, the folks that had trusted them, lost everything. I think all these folks that apologize, they need to say, hey, this is the amount of money I made from the FTX sponsorship and I'm giving, and they show it, and they need to give it all back to their viewers. That's what I think they need to do right now. It's ridiculous and it's upsetting. And so let's actually understand, well, what's going on with FTX, and if, investors in crypto broadly can recover from here, or what's sort of the strategy from here. So, once again, so you have this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, previously, folks estimated that he was worth like $16 billion. At one point, they were saying he was worth $26 billion. Well, his crypto exchange, FTX, filed for bankruptcy, earlier this week. And then he resigned as chief executive. And then let's look at the Twitter history here for SBF, where November 10th, he's like, oh, no, the problems that we're having, this is just tied to FTX International. Don't worry about it. If you're a U.S. user, the U.S.-based exchange that accepts Americans was not financially impacted by this, S show, what he's saying here, this dump show, this garbage fire. 100% illiquid the next day. Oh, by the way, folks, I filed all of our different subsidiaries, FTX US, the same company, the same subsidiary that, 24 hours before, he was saying no problem. And then Alameda, his trading firm, his hedge fund that was within this market maker, within his crypto exchange, he also filed for Chapter 11. If this isn't just a sign that you can't trust these folks, I mean, I don't know what there is, but there's just more and more data, especially because folks, wait a second, this is an exchange. How do you even lose money on that? Because, if you do what you're supposed to do and you do not commingle assets, but you keep them segregated, which is what you're supposed to do, keep them separate, segregated, you can't say, oh, my customer put in this money and then I'm going to go use it. And that no one knows exactly, other than SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, Fried, what exactly happened. There's probably a very small group of insiders. You can even have the head of Coinbase say like, well, I'm not really sure. I talked to him. Maybe he's a sociopath, like maybe pathological liar. People aren't really sure. So no one's exactly sure what went on. But looking at this, it's suggested that what ended up happening was there was a lot of volatility. His own hedge fund went underwater to the tune of several $billion, doing levered bets on various different products, including their own token. So this token that's sort of fictionally tied to, FTX. It was this FTT token. And by the way, there were some YouTubers, who you are, and they also love pumping, Tesla. They were pumping this token. This token, if you were pumping this token, I personally think you should bankrupt. You should file for bankruptcy yourself. And you should, for anyone that got into that, like, man, like getting into a product like this, it's absolutely worth zero. I mean, it's bananas to me. It's ridiculous to me. Anywho, just absolutely bananas. And so looking at this, they're saying that, okay, so that this in-house hedge fund actually became insolvent based on some very levered bets, effectively on their own, cryptocurrency that they created, their own, token that was losing value, that they were using as collateral for loans. I mean, automatically you should be this just smells like a disaster. And so then they started borrowing from their customer accounts to make it whole. And once you cross that divide, once you cross that threshold, you should go to jail. Like straight up, like goodbye, see you hopefully never sort of attitude for what happens here. Because, as you can expect, there are plenty of money transaction driven businesses like PayPal, for example, where if there was a cash burn, and previously PayPal was a cash burning business, well, they never crossed the line of saying, yeah, we're cash burning, but you know what, maybe we'll tap our customers' wallets and effectively that'll fund the business. You never cross that commingling asset. You don't get in this position where the customers become really concerned that they might start losing money. And so then it just gets, this story is just absolutely crazy, and you're in the fog here. No one knows the exact details, but like shortly after they filed for bankruptcy, and then supposedly some hack started happening where money was being channeled into Bahamas, or maybe someone was hacking a couple $100 million from customer accounts where people were opening up and all of a sudden it just showed zero for the account. So some folks were suggesting, okay, SBF is maybe trying to fly to Argentina, or maybe to fly to some Middle Eastern country that doesn't have an extradition treaty, like what's going on here? And effectively, why is my account getting hacked? Well, it gets even crazier, folks, because then FTX posted, oh yeah, per our Bahamian headquarters regulation and regulators, we have begun to facilitate withdrawals of Bahamian funds. As such, you may have seen some withdrawals processed by FTX recently as we complied with the regulators. So that was on 10/11. This story just gets absolutely bananas, because then you have the regulator, the Securities Commission of the Bahamas, say, hey folks, we wish to advise that it has not directed, authorized, or suggested to FTX Digital Markets the prioritization of withdrawals for Bahamian clients. I apologize if I'm massacring how to say Bahamian clients, but I just think, as if there isn't enough data points at this point to know, like, okay, if you had your money there at FTX, and I'm sorry if you did, or particularly sorry if you had your life savings there, or your children's life savings, or you had some grand plans with that, like, have very low expectations of what's going to happen from here, in terms of how do you recover. And once again, I'm just, there are so many folks out there that were pumping these products. And I think, they were pumping these products without any sort of recognition that, wait a second, do I actually understand how this business works? Or, am I making a mistake? And look, I've made mistakes with investing. I call it out. I have my subscribers at Unrivaled Investing. They see what's going on in real time. If I make a mistake, I call out why I made a mistake, what happened, and I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's particularly bad when you go all in on something that goes broke. It's particularly bad when you go all in on a fraud. It's particularly bad when you go all in and you're saying, hey, not only am I going all in, but I think that this is the guy you can trust. Where I say, oh, this is, of all the different products, this is the guy you can trust. And that's what some of these sponsors were saying. And so I just think of that scene from like Game of Thrones where I'm just like, shame, shame. Like, they should all be doing the walk of shame. There should be some sort of restitution for folks that got into FTX. Like, it's ridiculous in my opinion, looking at this. Okay, so the question is, can crypto investors recover? Can FTX investors, the folks that had their accounts there, can they recover? What happens from here? First, a quick plug. If you're looking to take charge of your investment journey, consider unrivaledinvesting.com for compelling investment ideas, real-time portfolio updates, and our exclusive Discord server available for annual subscribers. In full disclosure, this is not financial advice. I don't like crypto. I don't own crypto. So the question is, okay, so what happens from here? So first, the thoughts on crypto. I do think crypto could have a place in the future, but it's not the crypto that most people are aware of. So I'm thinking more of, and this might shock some people, especially as I have this long rant sort of saying, oh, this is just garbage. This is a toilet. I think there could be some version in the future, but it needs to be something where people are not buying it with the anticipation of speculative gains. It needs to be buying something like a stable coin of something like that, where you're saying, hey, I'm putting the money here because I do not trust the sovereign, various different governments that I'm looking at and the money printing that's going on. But it would not be for something worth some sort of speculative gain. Oh, I think this coin, token, picture is going to increase in value. That is just an absolute garbage fest. So that's the first point. I think there probably will be some value over time to having some sort of decentralized. There will be valuable tools. Like maybe it's with voting. Maybe it's something where you can easily track something over time. The ledger, the decentralized ledger, the blockchain. I think that could be valuable over time, but I want to see the valuable utilization and I want to see the adoption yet. We're still in arguably the pre-adoption phase, where right now it's just the absolute froth, absolute just bananas. And arguably that's just getting killed right now. And people are waking up and saying, oh my gosh, what have I done? This, unfortunately, I think, my uncle has described this very accurately as a period of mass psychosis. And I think that's what everyone sort of went through this, where there was a function of greed and people wanting to, even if it didn't make sense to them, saying, oh, well, I don't really know how this works. I don't know how I'm getting 10, 20% return on my money. Like, whatever, I'm just going to put it there. Even though this isn't backed by any, I'm just going to put my money there. Or even though I don't really understand this, I'm just going to do it. And so you have some sort of greed. And this is where Charlie Munger, a lot of people criticize Charlie Munger because he absolutely pooped all over Bitcoin and crypto. But he's a great quote that doesn't have to do with crypto. It has to do with life. His comment was that there will always be people making money faster than you. And that's the truth. There will always be people there will always be someone that's doing something smarter, working harder, making more money, or just luckier. But you don't have to be them. You need to figure out what's right for you. You need to figure out a path that's sustainable for your personal investment journey. So for my personal investment journey, which I call out at unrivaledinvesting.com, I'm looking for really two different types of companies. I'm looking for high growth potential companies that might not yet be profitable, but I'm also, the other type is the more profitable, more stable businesses that I can get for either a very good value, very fair value, or deeply discounted. So I'm looking for either a growth vector or just a combination of valuation, free cash flow, and growth. That's how I'm thinking about my own personal portfolio. And I call out my positions. Sometimes I have, of course, everyone can have losing positions. Personally, I've had definitely my fair share of them. But I have also made a point of, when I concentrate my bets, I want the things that I say, okay, I know this company has been around for decades. This isn't something that was just created in the last few years and all of a sudden is worth several $billion. This is a company that, my top holding company that is literally compounded at 18% for several decades. And I'm saying, wow, it trades at a discount. I think I could get an attractive return in the years ahead. That's, and I like the founders still own it. And the founders are doing intelligent things. That's the type of bet that I'm looking to make in this environment, and for really arguably any environment where the incentives are aligned. Okay, you have this founder, you have this quality business that is a history of compounding. So can you recover though? Let's say if you're at FTX or with crypto. So I think, Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary, he had a really thoughtful point to say, because people were asking, well, is this Lehman Brothers? Is this going to be some sort of contagion where everyone blows up? Is this Enron? What is this? The reality is, if you're an investor there, as I mentioned already, have very, very low expectations of getting a recovery. The challenging part, if you actually look at Madoff, the folks that had invested with Madoff, who previously was, one of the largest Ponzi's ever, tens of billions of dollars, the investors there actually recovered, I believe, more than 50% on every dollar. And he became exposed in the last downturn. This is what happens with downturns, folks. With every downturn, you find out who's been swimming naked. And that's exactly what's going on here. This is just another downturn. Then you find out who was over-levered, who was doing really stupid stuff. And so that's what happened. The last down cycle, you had Madoff. This one, you have FTX. Who knows what else comes out? This might not be the end of it. So I think with your crypto assets, unless it has a core utility, and I would love to know if something actually has a core utility. I haven't come across it, but I'm not putting a lot of research in it, just because most of the folks that have talked about it really do seem like scammers. So if anyone posts anything here like, this is going to the moon, instantly blocked. Not interested. I'm interested in things that have utility, real value, and aren't increasing in price over time necessarily. Things that might be stable, because folks aren't using it for gain. They're using it for some sort of utilitarian perspective. That is something that I'm curious about. I wouldn't, put my portfolio in it because I'm not getting that gain. So the second question is like, okay, so if I'm expecting a loss from FTX, and I think given that the assets here are really tied to a bunch of, poop coins, I think you should have extremely low expectations. What happened with Madoff was a dramatic overstatement, but you still had real cash, that was traded, real stocks that were traded, significant options. And so that's the reason why investors were able to recover, a good chunk of their funds. So if you're here with FTX and you've lost your money, I'm really sorry for you. I don't think you're going to be getting that back. That would be my expectation here, based on the data points so far that just come across as just huge red flags. Like the Bahamas thing just strikes me as absolutely absurd. Saying this company's fine, then declaring bankruptcy the next day. I mean, this is really next level crazy. Absolutely psycho. That's what's coming across here. So then the question is, okay, well, how do you make your money back? And this is another key aspect. Warren Buffett made a great point on this, and this is sort of the gambler's fallacy that you see over and over again. So what happens is you go to a casino, because you got that speculative animal spirits. You're feeling excited. So what do? You make a bet. You lose half your money. Oh, snap. Well, you got to make it back. Well, I'm just going to keep betting on the same thing, because folks say, hey, this is how I lost it. I'm going to make it back the way I lost it. For some reason, that's in our monkey brains, where we feel if we lose money a certain way, we got to make it back the way we lost it. If you got caught up with mass psychosis that was crypto, move on. I would argue liquidate it and start thinking about real businesses. Think about real investments. Look at people that have actually compounded wealth for decades and ask yourself, what is their approach? So my own personal heroes are some of the most successful, hedge fund managers or successful investors like Warren Buffett, like Charlie Munger. And I look at them and I go, wow, these aren't only exceptional investors, but they're also exemplars as individuals. And they're not bragging about giving money away. Like SBF, though, he had this piece like, oh, I'm giving away $50 million this year. Next year, I'm going to be doing $500 million. As if that shouldn't be like ringing a bell for like, is there a potential problem here? When Warren Buffett effectively said, hey, I'm giving away my money, it wasn't like, oh, it's going to be the Warren Buffett Foundation. He gave it to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Like, what an awesome guy. Like, he's like, I don't know what to do with it. You're spending a lot more time with it. That's why I'm committing to giving it to you. Tens of billions of dollars. And his own net worth today would be worth a lot more. But he's like, hey, I don't need it. If you've lost a boatload in crypto, don't plan on making it back the way you lost it. People have woken up and realized that this is just a bunch of dog poop. And they're saying, I'm never going to, why should it get back to that crazy value? What happened was you had a crazy amount of monetary stimulus that spilled over in speculative assets like crypto. And then you had real jerks who were recommending this stuff to you, saying, hey, I'd love a sponsorship. I'd love to get money from FTX. And they were pumping it. And folks were like, hey, this guy seems legit. This guy seems nice. I like him. He has good magic tricks on his YouTube channel, where he has a nice fancy car in his background. He doesn't have books, doesn't know how to read, but he has a nice car in the background. And so, yeah, I trust this guy, and I trust his crypto. I could trust his crypto take. Now I'm down 90%. And so I think at that point, for those folks, wake up to reality as it is and start thinking, okay, how can I invest for the long term? I don't know how to get rich quickly, but I do know, in my opinion, how to suss out what smells good from a stock, a compelling stock, where I'm saying, hey, what are the 3 things that drive a stock return? And I call this out. You need to have the 3 variables, growth, valuation, and fundamentals. What are they? What's this business look like? And so that's how I would consider, my own personal investments going forward, something like that. And I share my own personal journey at unravelinvesting.com. But if that's not it for you, find something else that's grounded in reality. You don't have to make it back the way you lost it. So if this has been part of your journey, losing a lot of your money on FTX, or even losing just some of your money with crypto or with a fraudulent exchange, I'm sorry that this has been part of your journey so far. I hope you'll learn from it. And I hope you channeled that frustration and anger into a productive venture for your own life journey ahead. And hopefully do the reading, learn about what is a sustainable long-term approach to investing that can benefit you over time. Because I still believe that this market, I believe we're still in a bear market, will create multi-generational wealth opportunities for those that are informed and prepared to act when bargains are available, when there are compelling real businesses at good values. I hope you enjoyed this video talking about FTX. If you enjoyed it, please make a point of hitting that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for tuning in.